The Council of Zephyria had made their decision with cold calculation and crueler amusement. Princess Elsa, the last daughter of the royal bloodline, would be sent to Earth as part of the interstellar marriage treaty. It was a diplomatic formality, they assured the humans, a gesture of peace between worlds. But within the crystalline halls of the Zephyrian palace, the truth was far darker. Elsa was infertile, a fact that had haunted her since her coming-of-age ceremony 2 decades prior. The royal physicians had declared it with clinical detachment. Her genetic structure was incompatible with reproduction. For a princess whose worth was measured in potential heirs, it was a death sentence to her political value. The council had kept this secret, waiting for the perfect moment to weaponize her condition. When the humans requested a bride for their ambassador as a symbol of unity, the council saw their opportunity. They would send Elsa, watch the marriage inevitably fail, and use the scandal to break the treaty. The humans would be humiliated, and Zephyria would reclaim its isolationist policies. It was, in their eyes, a perfect joke at the expense of both the naive humans and their useless princess. Elsa knew the truth of her mission when the council briefed her privately. She saw the smirks hidden behind formal expressions, heard the mockery disguised as encouragement. But she held her head high as she boarded the transport vessel, her silver hair catching the light of Zephyria's twin suns one last time. If she was to be a pawn in their cruel game, she would at least meet her fate with dignity. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. Elsa spent the time studying human customs, language, and biology. She learned about their brief lifespans, their passionate emotions, their inexplicable attachment to something they called hope. It all seemed so foreign to someone raised in the calculated coldness of Zephyrian court politics. Daniel was not what she expected. The human ambassador was younger than the diplomatic portraits suggested, perhaps in his early 30s by Earth standards. He greeted her at the landing platform with genuine warmth, his dark eyes crinkling at the corners when he smiled. There was no calculation in his expression, no hidden agenda she could detect. He seemed kind. "Princess Elsa," he said, bowing slightly in a gesture that mixed human and Zephyrian customs. "Welcome to Earth. I hope we can make this arrangement work for both our peoples." She studied him carefully, searching for the disgust or disappointment that would come when he inevitably discovered her condition. But Daniel simply smiled and offered his arm to escort her into the facility. The first month was awkward. Elsa remained distant, waiting for the moment when Daniel would demand heirs and she would have to confess her inadequacy. But that moment never came. Instead, Daniel showed her Earth's oceans, took her to museums, introduced her to foods she'd never imagined. He asked about her childhood, her interests, her dreams, questions no one in the Zephyrian court had ever bothered to ask. "Why aren't you asking about children?" she finally demanded one evening, unable to bear the uncertainty any longer. Daniel looked surprised. "Because I wanted to know you first," he said simply. "We're going to spend our lives together, Elsa. Shouldn't we start by becoming friends?" The concept was so foreign that Elsa didn't know how to respond. In Zephyrian culture, marriages were contracts, nothing more. Affection was irrelevant, but Daniel seemed to operate on entirely different principles. Over the following months, something unexpected happened. Elsa found herself looking forward to their conversations. She laughed at Daniel's terrible jokes. She felt her chest tighten when he smiled at her across the dinner table. The humans had a word for it, she learned: falling in love. It terrified her. One night, 6 months into their arrangement, Elsa finally confessed. They sat in the garden of their shared residence, Earth's single moon casting silver light across the flowers. "I'm infertile," she said, the words cutting like shards of ice. "The council sent me here knowing I could never give you children. They wanted to humiliate both of us to break the treaty. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." She waited for his anger, his disappointment, his rejection. Instead, Daniel reached for her hand. "I know," he said softly. Elsa stared at him. "What?" Our intelligence services discovered the Council's plan 3 months ago, Daniel explained. We could have canceled the arrangement, sent you back, used it as an excuse to retaliate. But I didn't want to, because by then I'd fallen in love with you, Elsa. Not with the idea of heirs or political alliances. With you. Tears formed in Elsa's eyes, another human behavior she'd adopted. But I can't give you. I don't care, Daniel interrupted gently. If you want children someday, we'll adopt. If you don't, that's fine too. I just want you. That night, for the first time, Elsa allowed herself to hope. 3 months later, Elsa collapsed during a diplomatic reception. The human doctors ran their tests with growing amazement. When they delivered their findings, even they seemed uncertain. You're pregnant, the lead physician said, showing them the scans. About 6 weeks along. It shouldn't be possible based on your Zephyrian medical records, but here we are. Daniel squeezed Elsa's hand, his expression a mixture of joy and wonder. But Elsa was thinking of something else, the research she'd done late at night, the theories she'd been too afraid to voice. Human biology, she whispered. Your genetic compatibility factors, your adaptive reproductive proteins. They're different from any species we've encountered. The doctor nodded slowly. We think your exposure to human genetic material may have triggered dormant adaptive mechanisms in your own biology. It's unprecedented, but the evidence is right here. When the news reached Zephyria, the Council's carefully laid plans crumbled. The treaty held strong, now reinforced by the impending birth of the first human Zephyrian hybrid. The joke they'd crafted so cruelly had backfired in the most spectacular way possible. Elsa stood on the balcony of their residence, one hand resting on her growing belly, the other held by Daniel. In the distance, ships from both worlds arrived to celebrate what everyone was calling a miracle. They sent me here to fail, Elsa said softly. Daniel pulled her close, and instead you helped us all succeed. As Earth's moon rose over the horizon, Elsa smiled. She had been a pawn in someone else's cruel game, but she had found something the Council could never understand, that love, hope, and connection could rewrite even the most fundamental rules of biology. She had been sent as a joke. She was returning as a bridge between worlds.